Welcome to week 7. And this week I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try using Google Slides because I think this might look better. So let me know in the comments. But last week I actually did pretty well. I went 13-1. So I'm actually kind of good at this, I guess. So yeah, this game already happened. I know I'm late on making this video. Um, But so you guys know I didn't cheat. I did predict the Saints would win. So yeah. Anyway, on to the London game. We can get that over with. So we have Patriots at quote quote at Jaguars, which is really in London. And yeah, the Patriots are garbage and the Jaguars are garbage, but they're also more likely to be less garbage than the Patriots. But they're still garbage. Um, there's not a lot to say. I think the Jaguars are the better team. I think they're probably gonna win. I think this is gonna be really boring, and I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if this ended in a tie. But since I have to pick one, I'm gonna go with the Jaguars. Okay, up next you have Seattle Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons. You have the Battle of the Birds, so that's fun. Seattle started out real strong, and then they forgot what a football was or something. And yeah, they've lost 3 straight. They're still in the division race. I mean, the Niners haven't been great, so they are staying alive for that. So they do have a season to play for. Like, their season's not over, but they are not playing great. Their defense is okay. Their offense isn't looking great. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks lost to the Giants a couple weeks ago, which was just an awful game. And then they lost to the Niners, which, I don't know, the 49ers are kind of getting it back together again, I guess. So I don't feel like that's a horrible loss, but they didn't play particularly well. So I I think that, the Seahawks are just kind of not in the place they want to be. The Falcons, on the other hand, are getting their pass game together. Kirk Cousins, I mean, he might be sneaking into some MVP conversations pretty soon. I don't know if people think that's crazy or not, but after that game against the Buccaneers, I just think he's kind of getting things figured out with his receivers. He has those connections finally now, and he's just the player that we expected him to be. The Falcons have the offense we expected them to have, so that's just really exciting to watch. I am going to give this over to the Falcons just because the Falcons are playing better. They're playing more consistent. I just have a lot of more reason to believe in the Falcons right now than I do the Seahawks, sadly. So I'm going to give this to Atlanta. Up next, we have the Titans at the Bills. So, I mean, Bills did have those couple tough losses against the Ravens and then against the Texans. Um, they did just get that Monday night win against the Jets, so I mean, I don't know how much that really tells you because the Jets are kind of bad. I don't know. They're somewhat competent, but they're not good. Um, so they at least have another game, a pretty easy game against the Titans right now that they can get things kind of figured back out, and Josh Allen can get his legs under him again, and they can just kind of get their heads on straight. Um, the Titans, they're bad. I feel bad that Tyler Boyd has to waste probably, I don't know, one of the last years of his prime on this team. I mean, he might even be past his prime, but I don't know, or even in his last year or two of his prime right now, and he has to waste it in Tennessee, although he did kind of do that to himself. But it is a bummer to see that. Also, kind of bummed seeing Will Levis not playing super great. And I don't know. This is just a season the Titans kind of signed up for. We all knew it was going to happen, barring some miraculous season. I am just going to give this to the Bills. I think the Bills are obviously the better team. I know they had those couple tough losses against the Ravens and Texans, but those are good teams. I don't really feel like you can hold those against them too much. I mean, the Bills are also honestly overperforming this season. I mean, with all the people they lost, so I think the Bills are going to win this. Up next, you have the garbage Bengals at the garbage Browns for the Battle of Ohio, or Ohio, as in, oh my, why are these teams both so bad all the time? These teams should be good. You would think. I mean, the Browns had their first playoff win in like forever, like only a few years ago, and then they decided that Baker hadn't committed enough crimes or something, so they tossed him into the garbage and picked up Deshaun Watson, which is going. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty typical Cleveland situation. I don't really know what anyone expected to happen other than the disaster that's showing up in Cleveland right now. But, on the other hand, you have the Bengals. They came off that ugly win over the Giants. Their defense looked really good, but it was against a Giants team that I don't know where their offense is. In Seattle, all of a sudden Daniel Jones is actually kind of good, and then on Sunday night, Daniel Jones is the Daniel Jones we thought he was going to be this season. So I don't know how much to take out of that Bengals defensive performance, but it is nice to see them hold someone to 7 points. And the Bengals could be poised for a win streak right here. I mean, with just beating the Giants, they do have the Browns, which, I mean, this should be a winnable game for the Bengals. And then you have the Eagles, which is winnable, although tough. And then you have the Raiders, which is super winnable. The Bengals could head to a 4-game win streak, could get to 4-3, they could head to 5-4, and maybe make a run for the playoffs. But we'll have to see. The Browns did have that close game against the Eagles, only losing by 4 points. I know the Eagles have been kind of all over the place, but I mean, it is a hopeful sign for the Browns that they were at least competitive against a pretty solid Eagles team. But I do think the Eagles still have a chance to make the playoffs. If not, get close to a winning record and be in the hunt later in the season at least. And then you also have to remember that regardless, the Browns have had absolute dominance over the Bengals in the past few years, in the Joe Burrow era, really. I mean, I think the Bengals have only beaten them like twice or something since Joe Burrow's been the quarterback. Like, it is not a lot. And it's really weird because the Browns haven't really been that good in that 4-year span, but we've still just been awful for some reason against them. So there's always that looming over our heads. Hopefully that doesn't matter, but it tends to play a role for some reason. I am going to give this to the Bengals, although if we lose, I will not be surprised. As I've said, the Browns have had that recent dominance that kind of tends to play a role in games like this. And the Bengals, this is just a game the Bengals lose. And yeah. So I'm going to say the Bengals win. Probably going to be wrong, but whatever. Up next, you have the Texans at the Packers. And the Texans are playing as well as we expected. I mean, it is really nice when you get to actually experience a team that everyone thought was going to be good actually be good. Um, they've only had one loss this season, and that loss was against an undefeated team, being the Vikings. Granted, the Texans got embarrassed in that game, but your one loss after 6 weeks of football being to an undefeated team still feels pretty good. You can take that. I think um, Texans offense is looking pretty solid. I think they had a couple rough weeks, but they're figuring it out. And then the defense has been solid just about all year. Um, and the Packers are getting back to where they want to be. Jordan Love's been back. This will be his third game back, and I mean, I think I think he's got the rust off. You had bad game against the Rams, but you pulled out a win, and that's what matters. Before that, you had that bad first half against the Vikings and a pretty great second half against the Vikings. So I think you're finally getting to the point where I think Jordan Love just has that rust off, and he's going to just be kind of Jordan Love from now on. So I am going to give this to the Packers, although the Texans very well could win this game. I do think the Texans are probably a slightly better team, but this is in Lambeau, and I just have to tip my hat to that crowd. They are very incredible fans over there, and I think they will win. They will will the Packers to a victory here. So I'm going to give this to the Packers. Up next, you have the you have the Dolphins at the Colts, and believe it or not, Miami is only 2-3, and they are coming off a bye. So based on what I've seen this season, you would feel like the Dolphins are like 0-5 or something, but they are 2-3. They're really not that far out from the division lead. I mean, I don't think they'll win the division, but like the fact that they are still kind of in that conversation for the division lead, which is insane. I mean, they're only like a couple games out, 1.5 games out, or something like that, which is kind of crazy to think about. They are coming off a bye, so I mean, with that being said, I don't know where the QB play is going to be. I think that a bye week was kind of the perfect thing for them. They had a chance to get an extra week where they didn't get the crap beat out of them, and they could figure out, hey, is Skylar Thompson who we really want to go with the rest of the season, or do we want to go with Tyler Huntley, and let's get them good practice for an extra week. So I do think that holds some stock, and I think that will be important. The Colts are kind of a hard team to tell how good they are in themselves. They did, barely beat Tennessee, so they won, but that is kind of alarming that it was so close. They are 3-3 though. I mean, I think that kind of is a fair reflection of where they are this season. They've had some solid games and they've had some not solid games, tough losses, decent wins. I mean, 3-3 is a pretty good reflection of where they are. As I said, they barely beat the Titans, which is a little alarming. And that is the most recent game that I have to go off of. With that being said, though, I'm going to give this to the Colts. It's in Indiana, so I think that the Colts are just the better team. They're the more consistent team, and I just have a better idea of what to expect out of them, which is mediocrity to a little above mediocrity, and the Dolphins anywhere from awful to maybe mediocre. So I'm going to go with the Colts on this. Up next, you have possibly what really should have been Sunday Night Football, but whatever. You have Lions at the Vikings, which is an absolutely insane game. The Lions just came off that blowout win against the Cowboys. I know that they have some injuries now, or at least a injury, um, that is going to be kind of a big deal for them going forward. So we'll see how that plays out in this game. They only have one loss, though. It was really weird. I feel like earlier in the season, when they lost that game, it was like everyone was kind of down on the Lions. It felt like it was really weird, and like it felt like they had lost at least 2 or 3 games earlier in the season, but they only ended up losing one, and it was against a really good Bucks team. And then you have the Vikings, who are undefeated, 5-0, coming off of a bye. I mean, this is in Minnesota. I know Sam Darnold did not play great. Um, so maybe having the bye week is a good way to. Well, sorry, he played great for the first half of the first part of the season. Second half against the Packers, he did not play well. Most of the game against the Jets, he didn't play well. So hopefully this bye week really helped him kind of get back and get his head on straight, and he's able to come out and play closer to that MVP level that he was playing in the first few weeks. I am going to give this to the Vikings. Um, it's in Minnesota. Vikings have had 2 weeks to prepare for this, and I just think the Vikings are going to take this, and they might start running away with the division for all we know, so we'll see. Up next, you have the Eagles at the Giants. The Eagles barely beat the Browns, which is absolutely insane to think about, because Eagles are pretty good. Like, I mean, at least Barkley is really reliable. He's really good. On the other hand, you have everyone else on the offense. Jalen Hurts has played decent all year. And other than Saquon Barkley, I just don't know how much confidence I have in their offense week to week. Their defense has been pretty solid. But yeah, and the Giants are they're pretty bad. I think I don't really know. I mean, they did beat the Seahawks, which I guess doesn't really mean much. And then they ended up only scoring 7 points against the Bengals. And I don't know. The Giants have just had a weird season. Like, you just have those like little glimpses of like, oh my gosh, the Giants might be good. Daniel Jones might actually be kind of good. And then all of a sudden they're just the Giants again. So I mean, I'm guessing they'll probably be the Giants in this game. You do have the Saquon Barkley revenge game. So I'm going to give this to the Eagles. And I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a successful revenge game here in MetLife Stadium. Up next, you have Raiders at Rams. So the Raiders are, they're on a downward slope, I think. Ever since, really after that Ravens win, you kind of realized, the Raiders are just not good. And then they went on to lose to the Panthers, and ever since, it's just been kind of a downward spiral. And I don't really see their quarterback play improving much anytime soon, whether it's Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. I think it's going to be about equal play from either person, and it's not really going to be enough to will their teams to victory very often. The Rams, on the other hand, do have a good quarterback. He just doesn't really have a ton of people to throw to for certain. We don't know, when his receivers are for sure coming back. So hopefully they come back soon. It would be incredible if they came back soon, but we'll have to wait and see. The Rams are coming off a bye week, which is important. I mean, it's kind of similar to that Dolphins situation, but with wide receivers. Is like even if you don't have a receiver, one of their starters coming back, then you can at least kind of get some guys with some more practice and kind of just get them prepared for this game. Um, the Raiders are a pretty good team to get your offense flowing against. So I think this will be a good game for the Rams. I am going to give this to the Rams. I think they're just the better team. I think their franchise just has a lot less chaos going on right now. So I'm going to give it to them. Then we have the Panthers and Commanders. And yeah, the Panthers are the Panthers. They got blown up by the Falcons, and Andy Dalton's playing decent, but he's not Superman. He's not lifting them to wins, which I don't blame this on Andy, but I mean, what do you expect? He's almost 37, and his team kind of sucks. So the Panthers are just kind of what we thought they would be, and you have to wonder, like, okay, your whole plan of we want to try to give our team the best chance to win is not working. Like, yeah, I agree. Andy Dalton probably gives the Panthers a better chance to win, but who cares? You're not gonna win. So just play Bryce Young. If he's gonna be your future, then just give him a chance to actually show you if he's your future quarterback or not. And then inevitably decide he's not and get someone in the draft and then do this all over again. And let Andy go somewhere else, please. Anywhere else. And then you have the Commanders, though. They barely lost to the Ravens, so that was pretty exciting. I think the Commanders are doing really well, and I think their offense versus the Panthers defense is going to be just an annihilation party. It's going to be pretty sad to watch. I think that Jaden Daniels is going to play really well. I think Jared McLaurin's going to play really well. I'm excited for the Commanders. I think that they're definitely probably the head runners for their division right now. And they are just going to, completely run over the Panthers here. I'm going to give this to the Panthers. And, yeah. Then you have the Super Bowl rematch. The two-time Super Bowl rematch, I guess you could say. The Chiefs at 49ers. And the Chiefs are coming off a bye, and they are, of course, undefeated. And Mahomes has no one to throw to. But that doesn't really matter because they're going to keep on winning. It is sad to see Mahomes have to deal with not having, a ton of solid receivers around him right now. That is a bummer. You hate to see great quarterbacks have to deal with like everyone around them sucking. But Mahomes is good enough to make even just some random guy in the stands probably competent, So yeah, I don't know. I think that he'll do pretty well. The Niners are 3-3, and they honestly have looked like it this season. I think it's a pretty accurate reflection of where their season's been. Had some decent highs and some pretty rough lows, especially that loss to the Cardinals. They are coming off that Thursday night win against the Seahawks, so maybe that's going to propel them to a good performance here. Kind of bums me out that this is what the Super Bowl rematch looks like. You have to. I really wish that both these teams were at their best, but really neither of them are. And I don't know. This game just won't be as good as I wish it was, but either way, I'm gonna give this to the Chiefs because, Honestly, I might just predict the Chiefs to win every game until they actually lose one. But yep, I'm gonna give this to the Chiefs. After that, you have Sunday Night Football. Jets at Steelers. You really couldn't have flexed out this game for the Minnesota Vikings Detroit Lions game. Like, really? You didn't even try. Anyway, so the Jets kind of suck. Aaron Rodgers has not been playing well. The Jets look about the same as they did with Zach Wilson. And I don't think I ever expected to say that. I mean, Rodgers doesn't really need to be even prime Aaron Rodgers. He just needs to not be Zach Wilson level Aaron Rodgers. And I only saw it like one game against the Patriots on a Thursday night. So it bums me out. I mean, you did have that Hail Mary at the end of halftime last week, which was pretty cool. It is nice to see that there's at least some Aaron Rodgers still there in him, but hopefully he does play well here. I would love for the Jets to win this game, help the Bengals stay in the division race. On the other hand, the Steelers are trash, but they're also good, I guess. I don't know. The Steelers kind of thrive playing like this, so honestly, if you're a Steelers fan and your team is doing really well, as in their games look good, doing well, that's when I would be concerned because usually when that happens, something horrible happens. um, but I don't know. I feel like as a Steelers fan, you're kind of used to them just winning games somehow. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys won the Super Bowl as a 6th seed, so this is just kind of how you guys thrive. And their defense looks really good. I mean, you can't say the Steelers are trash. Their defense is really good, and that is a big reason they win. I mean, they are the definition of defense wins championships. And I would say the Steelers are more consistent, and they have a better record. I'm going to give this to the Jets, though. I don't know. I feel like the Jets are just going to have that kind of random Aaron Rodgers game where he just is lights out, and yeah, I don't know. This could be a good Sunday night game, but we'll see. Then you have Ravens at Buccaneers. This is a pretty fun game actually. You have the Ravens, which I would say, despite having 2 losses, are the best team in the league. I think that if the Ravens and Chiefs played now, the Ravens would destroy them. But alas, they aren't playing right now. They will probably play in January when the Ravens fall apart, but we'll get to that later. Right now, though, I think the Ravens are the best team. They have the best running attack. They have the best running back. They have the best quarterback. They have a solid defense. They have great receivers. The Ravens are the Ravens we expected this season. So that is nice to see. They had a solid win against the Commanders, and the Commanders, we all know, are a pretty solid team right now. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of hope for the Ravens. I do hope that they can make a good run this season, as long as it doesn't get in the way of the Bengals. But yeah. Oh yeah, I already said that. Buccaneers are also having a great season. They um, they have only had those 2 losses, and I mean one was against Denver, which I kind of think was just a fluke loss. I mean, I think it was just one of those things that randomly happens, and then you get over it, and you're fine. And they had that loss to Atlanta, which I can respect. I don't know. That was the night Atlanta figured it out, and Kirk Cousins decided he wanted to be MVP level. So I don't really hold that against them too much. Baker's playing well. He's super fun to watch. I absolutely love that he has found a home in Tampa Bay. They demolished the Saints last week, scored over 50 points, and yeah, I think this will be a great Monday night game. I am going to give this to the Ravens. As much as the Buccaneers could win this game, I think the Ravens are just about as close to unstoppable as you can get right now. So I would have to try really hard to get the willpower to choose against the Ravens. So I'm going to go with them. And lastly, you have the afterthought Monday night game, the Chargers at Cardinals. I think it's really funny that like this is just on ESPN Plus, so it's just like, oh cool, you can watch the Ravens and Buccaneers game, and I guess if you want to have something on in the background that like you glance at twice an hour, you can have the Chargers and Cardinals game. But anyway, the Chargers, they're a different team than they were last year. I mean, the run game is good, and they've just beat Denver, and Denver is playing pretty solid. I think with John Harbaugh, this is just a different vibe in the whole organization, and that is really nice to see. Justin Herbert's not playing great, but I do think that he definitely has. He had a lost season to turn that around. They are 3-2, so um, I think the Chargers could play really well this game. The Cardinals also, on the other hand, have a lot of hope for the future, and they can pull out great wins. They've had flashes of brilliance. Uh, they showed that against the 49ers when they pulled off that crazy, 9 or 10 point comeback and randomly beat them. So, Cardinals are capable of having those crazy wins, but I think they're going to be, fairly few and far between. I think the Chargers are just the better team. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals, however, just because I feel like this is going to be one of those games where Kyler Murray just does something crazy and the Cardinals pull it out. So, yeah, that is week 7. Like and subscribe, please, and leave a comment if you have any suggestions. Also, highly encourage you to look up John 3:16. It's a pretty cool thing that I found. Highly recommend. All right, thank you, and